Today on Locked On Rockies, the fun of the All-Star game is over, and the realities of the Rockies' second half are here, facing us. What should we be looking forward to, and what does success look like for the Colorado Rockies for the rest of 2023?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 13th day of July in the year 2023. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day is talk about the Colorado Rockies. We're proud to be your first listen of the day. Shout outs to all of our everydayers out there, those commenting, checking out the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, and tuning in every day. Thanks to you, we are growing as a show, and that is a big shout out to all of you, the audience out there, for checking us out. Hey, we're also available on your favorite streaming service. We're also available on Sirius XM. Same with your Colorado Rockies play-by-play coverage. Just search Locked On Rockies or Colorado Rockies on the Sirius XM app. You'll be taken to where you need to go. Today on the pod, we're going to talk about the second half of the season for the Rockies and trying to define what success is, because let's be realistic. The Rockies aren't going to be a successful winning baseball team, but there are things to look at in terms of what can be considered success for the Rockies, what can be considered things to look forward to, what can be things to consider when evaluating this Rockies club. But the Rockies, I believe I saw on Twitter, need 88 wins to get a division clinching win, I believe, right now for their magic number. Don't think that's going to happen. So what does success look like? What do we think about when we're evaluating and discussing success for the Rockies? Well, it can come in a matter of ways. I mean, Elias Diaz doing cool stuff at the All-Star game. There's one small thing to kick off the second half, but it can come with the Rockies playing close, good, strong baseball and continuing to get strong performances from some key young guys in the organization, on top of making tough calls, making moves, and being sellers at the deadline. This team will be more successful in the future if it has a successful trade deadline. That factors into it. But I want to focus on other things that can be considered success, and I want to start with some of the young guys in the play of three of them in particular so far, and I want to talk about the potential future of one as well. Success for the Colorado Rockies means Ezequiel Tovar continues to play at or above the pace that he's playing at right now. Currently, according to Baseball Reference, he's playing at he's got a 1.6 wins above replacement, 260 batting average, an OBP of 296, a slugging of 428, an OPS of 724, and an OPS plus of 85. He's got 9 home runs with 44 RBI and 4 stolen bases. In that time, he's also rocking a fielding percentage of 984 here, and he is shown multiple times that he is the elite defender that we thought. So if Tovar can continue to be the defensive stud that we know he is, which there's no real issues there. I think he is completely comfortable and confident playing there. But if we see Tovar finish with a similar line that he has now and an increase maybe in home runs, if Ezequiel Tovar flirts with 20 home runs, I mean, I don't think he's going to get there with only hitting 9, but say he hits another 7 or 8 and he gets kind of closer there, I think that's much more pop and much more power than you thought to expect from Ezequiel Tovar. And if that means Ezequiel Tovar can be a perennial double-digit home runs type of guy, that's a nice step up and improvement that we thought we were going to get from him. But I just want him to continue to be someone that's developing into what can be the threat. The Ezequiel Tovar is going, if he continues at this rate, I think is going to, he might not have the same power as, say, Trevor Story, like we said with the home runs, but he's someone that's getting on base, and he's someone that's taking bases away. He's someone that is showing, again, his impact on both sides of the ball. So if Ezequiel Tovar continues to have a strong second half, and I don't think he will, there's a lot of really exciting and rookies on better teams that are doing more, but at least getting Ezequiel Tovar's name in there, getting a little recognition and a little, hey, don't forget about this guy from Colorado who's having a solid year. It is certainly going to be overshadowed because of the amount of really good rookies and the high level of rookie play that's going on in Major League Baseball this year. But Ezequiel Tovar, if he continues at this rate, is going, that is a form of success for the Rockies. And same with Brenton Doyle and Nolan Jones. Brenton Doyle, of course, we'd like to see a little bit more in terms of on the offensive side. But if the Rockies can work on his offense while he's able to already be an impact on center field, it has the foundation for something that's really interesting. What you need at Coors Field is great defense. What you need from him is to continue to be able to field that outfield that is so difficult for him, for so many people to deal with. And then hopefully you can start building up his offense as you're kind of building up the offense of everybody in this in the league so far, or with your team, I should say. The Rockies themselves need so much more on offense. It's not just Brenton Doyle who is struggling in terms of offense this year, but it's most of the team. It's this team is not a good offense in general. But the thing to be encouraged about and the thing to really be enjoying about the play of Brenton Doyle is that defense. And that stuff matters. Being able to take away runs, being able to be someone that it helps your team get better on the defensive side, especially one that's so important as as center field is. That's really that is a massive win. So a version of success for Doyle. The defense continues to be great, and we see an uptick in offense. And then as for Nolan Jones, I think what we want to see from him is just a cutback in strikeouts and whiffs, and continues to be someone that hits for power, and continues to be utility and play a little bit of everywhere. I think Nolan Jones it deserves to be continuing to play in the lineup and continuing to be a factor, because so far for Nolan Jones here in 121 ABs, 5 home runs, 289 batting average, 14 RBI, the stolen base threat for him. We mentioned, of course, there, the Brenton Doyle is, I believe, also an option that you can have. Some of these guys give you a little bit more aggressiveness on the base paths, with Brenton Doyle having the 12. Yes, of course, I got them confused there. But if these two guys can continue to start nabbing more bags, that's another tool to add. That's another thing that adds for Brenton Doyle as well. The speed, that X factor, that stolen base thing. That if he can get on and continue to be stealing bases, huge thing. And that would pair well with him and Nolan Jones. If Nolan Jones can continue to hit the ball, drive in some runs, and come up big in certain situations, because you really like the OPS plus, and you like the OPS for Nolan Jones here, with the 856 for the OPS and a 120 OPS plus here, according to Baseball Reference. 14 RBI, again, like we said, 5 home runs on the time. So if Nolan Jones can also get in the double digits when it comes to home runs, big time success. I think those three guys, if they can continue to trend upwards and trend successfully, that's going to be huge. I mean, we need to see more from Doyle on offense, but there's things to be encouraged by when it comes to that defense and base stealing ability. So those three guys are things to look for when we're evaluating success for the Rockies. There's a guy I think the Rockies need to really need to start having honest conversations about figuring out. We've talked about it before, and it leads into another way the Rockies can be successful going through 2023 here. We'll talk about that coming up in segment number 2. But before we do that, I want to tell you about our friends at Sleeper. Sleeper is the new way for you to check out all of the daily fantasy action. And here's how it works. I'll show you. If you're on the YouTube side, you can see, you fill out a slip. You can pick on a bunch of stats where it's like home runs or hits, all sorts of stuff. And then you can bring it all together here in your Sleeper Picks parlay. And then you just go up there And you can win up to 100 times your money here. And that's why you can check out all the different things they have. So when you're looking at our Shohei pick here, you can say more or less home runs he's going to hit, more or less total bases, more or less earned runs. You can check it all out at Sleeper. And when you do, you can get up to $100 matched to your account when you enter the promo code Locked On. First-time depositors can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 using promo code Locked On. So don't miss out. You can make your entries in 30 seconds or less. They have safe and fast withdrawals, and it's currently operational in 30 states. So use promo code Locked On today at Sleeper, and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for more details. That's sleeper.com/locked on. You can check it out for yourself and get that $100 deposit. Check out Sleeper today. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You can find us wherever you find your podcast. You can find us on YouTube as well, the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show, leaving your comments, joining us when we go live, hanging out with us there on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Shout outs to all of our everydayers out there. And thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. So we talked a little bit about some of the guys that can, the young guys that can contribute and can be factors there and what success looks like for them. Hope to see them continue to trend upwards. But the one guy the Rockies haven't been able to figure out with is Laos Montero. They're bringing him. He was demoted again recently to Albuquerque, and Albuquerque does not help him. He's been sent down. He can mash AAA pitching. The Rockies need to make the tough call and see what the value is there, or really decide what they're going to do with him. I mean, another version when we're talking about finding success for the Rockies is being successful in making trades for the veteran players that you have on your team. Create success for the Rockies means that the Rockies are able to trade a couple of pieces away. I'm talking multiple trades with partners and getting some sort of return back, and it might not be the flashiest of things, but it's a potential for things to work out and the potential to add some depth into the roster for the next seasons. Montero is going to be someone that has to draw some interest because even though it hasn't panned out, people have to be as interested as the Rockies were in that bat. There has to be something in there of what makes him so intriguing. It's just incredibly frustrating to see a prospect that is supposed to be the crown jewel out of what happened from the trade continue to be demoted and sent down when he really should just continue. Why isn't Montero being given the opportunity to break through the slumps? Excuse me. Why isn't Montero being allowed to have the chance to go through the struggles? And maybe throughout the second half of the season, maybe after the trade deadline, that's the case. Maybe they'd send him down to Albuquerque to just kind of keep him in a lineup every day to prepare for late July when he's going to be, maybe he's coming up for consistent time then. But why are we waiting that long? Why are we waiting until the trade deadline to figure out to get Montero into the game, into the lineup? I mean, is it solely just so you can have these veterans play as much as possible in these next couple of weeks to drum up value? Is that the only option that the Rockies have to get the interest that they need, that they believe they need to get in order to be successful at the trade deadline? And what does success at the trade deadline necessarily mean? Personally, I think the Rockies just trading away expiring contracts and veteran players that aren't going to be impacting long-term is really any form of success. I mean, I think the Rockies being active at the deadline itself would be a form of success. They actually acknowledge making the moves, making the different changes and doing what they need to do. But how big time successful is that really going to be? And how much are you really going to get back if you're not willing to start having the conversations about moving a player like Montero, especially while you're continuing to figure out what to do with him? The lack of opportunity continues to be frustrating and continues to be something that doesn't quite make sense given the state of the Rockies right now. They haven't done. I don't know what's the harm in sending him out there over some of these guys, other than I think the fact of the matter is the Rockies are trying to be active at the trade deadline, and they do want to see if they can get some more interest in these players by giving them opportunities. But in the long haul for the Rockies, it doesn't benefit them to have the more time Montero spends at AAA, the more time it takes for him to get to break the MLB slump. I think the constant up and down, the inconsistencies in playing time, that's the issue. So when we're talking about a successful storyline, the Rockies need to find success with Montero, either finding a successful trade partner and making things happen so the Rockies can try to retool and reevaluate, or being successful in getting him in the lineup and getting him to start being the batter and being the hitter that we want him, that the Rockies want him to be, hoped him to be, and expect him to be. So that's another version of when we're looking for the success, is honestly the Rockies finding success with Montero, or the Rockies just being successful to generate enough interest in these guys to make the deals. That's the biggest question. How much can the Rockies truly get better given the assets and given the situation that they found themselves in? We'll have to see as we go forward and go through here closer to this the trade deadline. But it sounds like, again, some relievers and things like that will be interesting. But here's the deal, though, especially as the Rockies are facing these situations and facing the questions of what to do here. The Rockies have the hardest strength of schedule, according to the two websites. I'm currently on Tankathon, though, right here, but I've seen it now on multiple websites that the Rockies have the hardest strength of schedule remaining, including 3 games against Atlanta, 3 games against the Rays, 3 games against the Orioles, 3 games against Miami, 8 still to play against the Dodgers, 6 against the Diamondbacks. Those are the highest rated opponents here on Tankathon. And the easiest opponents, 3 games set with the A's, 3 games set with the Nationals, 3 games set with the White Sox, 3 with the Cardinals, 6 with the Cubs, and 6 with the Padres. So when you're just looking at that, and when you're kind of just looking at who the Rockies still have to play and where they're at, it ain't going to get any easier. So when do you make those calls? Do you have to wait up until the trade deadline to move on? I don't know. That might be waiting too long, and you might be playing too good of people and dealing with too many things it's a gamble right now what the Rockies are dealing with here when it comes to navigating the trade deadline. We'll see how successful they will be, and we'll have to kind of relook at it and see what the Rockies are able to do. And in terms of success, is just making a trade success enough? I guess when we're looking for just the scraps and the basics and the bare minimum, maybe, but then it is going to be having to be evaluating the quality of those trades. But again, better to get some stuff in return than lose some pieces in the offseason when they just walk, as we've noted for the past couple of seasons. Let's also, the Rockies do make a move today, and Purple Rose got a couple of things you can take a look at to see and enjoy about baseball in the second half. We'll talk about that coming up here in segment number 3. But before we do that, got to tell you about our friends at Bird Dogs, my favorite new pair of shorts that I got. I'm rocking them all summer long. They are the perfect thing for the ballpark. They're the perfect thing for the bar. They're the perfect thing for the office because they look great and feel great too. They fit way better than Lululemon, and they got the cloud knit fabric that is perfect because it looks just like khaki, and that's exactly what a guy like me needs. I'm a shorts 80% of the time guy. I'm a short 90% of the time, 99% of the time. You can mostly find me in shorts, and Bird Dogs have been great because they look great, they feel great, and they help keep me dry from the sweat. Because, hey, being a stocky guy, sweat, it's a factor. It happens. And Bird Dogs helps keep it all under control and helps keep me stink free. And you can get yourself a sweet Bird Dogs tumbler with every order when you go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter the promo code LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or promo code LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you all sorts of daily Colorado Rockies talk here, trying to look at what is a successful second half. And I feel like we kind of talked about a lot of this stuff before. I think we've dove into these things. I think as we're in this spot of the season right now with the Rockies, it's a weird holding pattern and a will they, won't they, what are they going to do? So when we're looking for success, it's hard to gauge, and there's a wide range when it comes to breaking down what is successful, because when you're talking about 2023, when you're talking about the Rockies, success is few and far between. And it's hard to be successful while losing, but the Rockies are going to need to find ways to be successful while losing, like getting quality play from young rookie players, being successful by generating and getting deals done with expiring contracts or veteran players that will be better suited on other teams there to help them win a championship and get something in return, and being successful in figuring out what to do with one of your top rated or one of your prospects that has a lot of backstory and a lot of history there of mismanagement, I think, by at least by my standards, and someone that hasn't been getting enough consistent playing time and opportunities at the major league level since the start of the season, especially now that the fact that he's re-embracing a different role after spending a whole offseason being told he's going to be the third baseman and Ryan McMahon's going to be the second baseman. I guess it wasn't the whole offseason after the pivot. So anyway, but during spring training and stuff like that, it's been a lot of flip, and then it's been a lot of inconsistency there for Montero as well. I want to see the dude play. I want to see it continue to play out at the major league level. But our friends over at Purple Row got a couple of things to tell you about needing a way to enjoy the second half. Skylar Timmons writes, and you can check out more about what he wants to say. And I wanted to focus on something like this here, on some of these other things here, and more, not the whole thing, but this one's a good point. Enjoy the minors. The draft is completed, and the Rockies have selected 20 plus players, including a lot of pitchers, to join the organization. The influx of new players directs attention back to the farm system for the team. The system is full of exciting players with potential in minor league baseball. Is just a lot of fun to watch. The Albuquerque Isotopes have started their second half on a hot stretch with a number of players that could/should be playing in the big leagues. We've got some of the rising stars in Hartford like Gabriel Hughes and Yanquil Fernandez, while players like Sterling Thompson and Jordan Beck continue to dazzle in Spokane. And don't forget the youngsters in Fresno laying down the organization that will carry them through the system. There is hope and talent in the Rockies organization, and it's worth getting familiar with them and supporting their journey. He follows that up with enjoying the game. It's fairly general, but we're reading from Purple Rose, Skylar Timmons. So you need to find a way to enjoy the second half. And we're reading underneath enjoy the game here. It's fairly general, but I would also recommend just enjoying the game. Yes, the team is frustrating, but if you feel so inclined to head to Coors Field for the rest of the season, go ahead and do that. Regardless of the product on the field, it's fun to go to games with family and friends and enjoy a nice summer evening while eating a juicy hot dog and enjoying a cold beverage of your choice. One way or another, you're going to see at least one good team on the field that night. Baseball is still fun and one of the best things ever, so find a way to enjoy it. If the Rockies do well, that's just an added bonus. Don't let the Rockies kill your love of baseball, but rather let them inspire you to find new ways and reasons to enjoy the game. Many years ago, it was playing fantasy baseball that did it for Skylar. The team has plenty of problems, as does Major League Baseball, but at the root of it all is one of the greatest games ever made, and it's worth finding ways to enjoy it. I thought that was a nice way to kind of talk about our view of success in the second half of the season for the Rockies. The Rockies will be successful if your passion, the fans' passion, the Rockies fans that I saw at the ballpark, that I see online, that join the live chats, that comment on here, that tune into the podcast, it will be successful to them if they don't kill your faith in them and the game. Maybe your faith in them has already been tested and is there, but your enjoyment, your love of the game, because here's the deal, folks. As much and if it works for you, keep it up. Don't go back on it. I totally understand. But if you want to go watch the Rockies at Coors, just go do it. And that's another way the Rockies will be successful, as they always are. The Rockies will be successful in attendance. They will get people to come because at the end of the day, it is enjoyable to go there. And you got to go for a team like the Rockies, and for hopefully one day it won't be too long. But these stretches, unfortunately, do happen. Hopefully they become fewer and far in between, and they are not as kick-started as it was for this era of Rockies baseball, but it will improve. One day, the Rockies will be a good baseball team again, and you can say that you saw it and caught the minor league teams and followed them on their way up. There's a lot, but I think, again, one big thing that would be successful for the Rockies is keeping the interest, keeping the passion, and keeping Rockies fans engaged, because there's a lot of other things to be distracted about going on in terms of major sports in Denver, and there's a lot of going on in the world of baseball. That's a heck of a lot interesting that's going on there in Colorado. If the Rockies are another way to measure the success is this team has finishes better than they did in the first half, led by the young guys, setting up a potential look at what a successful future might look like for the Rockies. That overall would be a successful second half for the Colorado Rockies. Hoping to add to that success, someone we'll talk more about here in a future episode, but Rockies do look to address their depth issues at starting pitching by taking on Chris Flexson, who signs a AAA deal there. He's now joining Albuquerque, and certainly will be someone that the Rockies will expect to bring up and have in the major league rotation soon. Has not been very good this year. We actually talked about him a little bit, and the issues with what he's dealing with in Coors Field are going to be maybe not the best issues and best pairing. But the Rockies are facing a situation I have yet to see, and I'll do one more Google here as of recording. I have yet to see any update on Kyle Freeland and his status and what the injury, the extent of the injury is going to be. I know it was dislocated, it came back on its own, things of that nature, but there hasn't been any mention of how long he might be out. So if Kyle Freeland's out, I can definitely expect the joining of Chris Flexson sooner rather than later. He did start. He has started plenty for Seattle. He was someone that was really good in 2021. Just hasn't been able to get quite back there. But we'll see. At this point in the season, I mean, it's a person with starting experience. And the best thing Chris Flexson could do for the Rockies is pitch until the 6th or the 7th and be able to give this bullpen time. We'll look more into to Flexson, what the impact will be on another episode of Locked On Rockies, because we're almost out of time for today. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. We'll be breaking things down here on the Locked On Podcast Network about your Colorado Rockies on the Locked On Rockies podcast feed on your favorite streaming service, as well as Locked On Rockies on YouTube. That's where you can find us there. And drop your comment below. Tell me what you think a successful second half for the Rockies looks like. Want to let you know we're also on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. Check us out there. Just search Locked On Rockies, or you can search Colorado Rockies for your play-by-play action when the Rockies resume play tomorrow against the New York Yankees. Find us on Twitter at LO Rockies. And folks, until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.